Intro. In the heart of the arena, a climactic battle unfolded. Two warriors engaged in a fierce and brutal contest, their identities shrouded in mystery. The crowd, filled with anticipation, watched as the combatants clashed with primal aggression. Blow after blow rained down upon the adversaries, their bodies battered and bloodied. Weapons clashed, and the air crackled with tension as the combatants fought relentlessly, their ferocity matched only by their skill. Spectators leaned forward, their excitement reaching a fever pitch. Amidst the chaos, a moment of horror pierced the relentless struggle. One of the combatants' abdomen was viciously cut, a crimson gash appearing across his midsection. Agony surged through his body, and he crumpled to the ground, his life hanging in the balance. As he lay there, wounded and gasping for breath, a surge of memories flooded his mind, memories flashing before his eyes. And all leads back to the beginning. Titan, Babylon. Episode 1. Prologue. On the distant moon of Titan, a colossal feat of genetic engineering had unfolded, giving rise to a race of giant men. These towering beings were created from the genetic blueprint of humanity. Their purpose twofold: to terraform the moon and construct grand colonies that would stretch towards the heavens. As the moon's surface transformed, a magnificent tower emerged, reaching towards the celestial expanse above. The towering structure, aptly named the Elite Tower, became a symbol of status and wealth. The higher up one resided within its gleaming walls, the more opulent and privileged their lives became. The elite, driven by their insatiable thirst for power and affluence, claimed the uppermost floors as their exclusive domain, overlooking the sprawling city that thrived at the tower's base. This city, a testament to the juxtaposition of social strata, teemed with life. Its streets bustled with the footsteps of the poor and middle class, who worked tirelessly to sustain their modest lives beneath the imposing shadow of the Elite Tower. They yearned for the chance to ascend, their aspirations mirroring the very structure that cast its shadow upon them. Yet, a millennium had passed since the giant men's purpose had been fulfilled. With the completion of the moon's transformation and the establishment of thriving colonies, the giant men found themselves obsolete. No longer needed for their initial role, they became commodities, forced into a new existence, a life of brutal combat and entertainment. Within the labyrinthine levels of the Elite Tower, arenas emerged on each floor, carefully constructed to accommodate the spectacle that awaited. Titans, as they came to be called, were pitted against one another, their skill and prowess determining their ascent through the tower's ranks. On the bottommost levels, the weaker fighters engaged in ferocious battles, their victories earning them the right to climb higher towards the gleaming eyes of the elite, who eagerly placed bets on their outcomes. In this city of extremes, a hero failed to live up to the legacy of his renowned father. Talbot, a man caught between two worlds, stood at a formidable height of 7.5 feet, a formidable height for any ordinary human. Yet his lineage carried a unique blend of Titan and human heritage, a connection to the very race that fought for the amusement of the elite. Talbot, burdened by a knee injury that prevented him from competing in the famous gladiatorial fights, he toiled as a simple security guard within the shadows of the Elite Tower. He longed for a chance to prove himself, to step into the arena that had claimed his father's fame. However, the rules dictated that only those in perfect physical condition were allowed to participate. Haunted by the shadow of his deceased father, one of the most celebrated gladiators of the past, Talbot yearned to carve out his own destiny. With the Elite Tower as his backdrop, he navigated the complexities of a society divided by class and fueled by the blood sport that defined it. As the story unfolds, Talbot's journey will be one of self-discovery, resilience, and the search for purpose. Amidst the grandeur of the elite tower and the city it presides over, he will face challenges, form unexpected alliances, and ultimately emerge as a symbol of hope in a world where giants and dreams collide. Chapter 1. Beginnings. Talbot groaned as he reluctantly opened his eyes, his vision blurred by the dim light seeping through the stained curtains of his shabby apartment. With a heavy sigh, he hoisted himself up, feeling the strain on his overweight frame. The room was a mess, littered with empty soda cans and discarded food wrappers, a reflection of the state of his life. Dragging himself to the bathroom, Talbot caught sight of his reflection in the dusty mirror. His shirtless, pudgy body stared back at him, and he couldn't help but crack a self-deprecating joke to mask his insecurities.
"Well, the world can't handle this kind of perfection,"
he muttered, forcing a laugh that couldn't quite mask the discontent in his voice. Just as he was about to continue his morning routine, his alarm blared relentlessly, jolting him into awareness. Panic gripped him as he realized he was already late for work. Without wasting a moment, Talbot rushed to get dressed, struggling to squeeze into his clothes that no longer fit comfortably. He grabbed his belongings haphazardly and rushed out of his apartment, barely giving it a second glance. The bustling city streets buzzed with life as Talbot, standing head and shoulders above the crowd, weaved his way through the labyrinth of pedestrians. At an impressive 7.5 feet tall, his towering presence was impossible to ignore amidst the sea of average-height citizens. As he moved through the futuristic metropolis, his elongated strides and occasional ducking under low-hanging signs drew astonished gazes from onlookers. Children pointed with wide eyes, their parents struggling to contain their own amazement. The cityscape itself was a marvel, a fusion of futuristic architecture and cyberpunk aesthetics. Towering skyscrapers reached for the heavens, adorned with cascading holographic displays that bathed the streets in a kaleidoscope of vibrant colors. Hovering vehicles zoomed overhead, their sleek and aerodynamic designs cutting through the air effortlessly, while hoverboards whizzed past, their riders performing gravity-defying tricks. As Talbot traversed the bustling streets, his towering figure also became a source of comedic situations. His heavy breathing and exaggerated gestures drew curious glances, and occasionally he would bump into signs or awnings that were not designed to accommodate someone of his extraordinary height. The resulting mishaps, a sign swinging back and whacking him in the face, or a sudden canopy collapse, elicited laughter and gasps from the startled spectators. However, despite the occasional hilarity, Talbot maintained an air of dignity as he pressed forward towards his workplace. The glass doors of the office building were designed to accommodate individuals of all sizes, allowing Talbot to stride through effortlessly, though not without causing heads to turn and jaws to drop. Inside the building, the sleek and modern interior served as a stark contrast to Talbot's imposing stature. The desks and cubicles seemed miniature in comparison, making his co-workers look like a sea of tiny figures scattered throughout the office floor. Every step he took resonated through the linoleum floors, drawing curious glances from colleagues who had long since grown accustomed to his larger-than-life presence. Despite the challenges of navigating within the confines of the office, Talbot's sheer height often came in handy. Needing to retrieve an item from a high shelf, Talbot was the go-to person. Struggling to replace a light bulb in the ceiling fixtures, Talbot could effortlessly reach the task at hand. Colleagues often sought his assistance, finding solace in his towering presence and the assurance that he could easily resolve their vertical predicaments. Of course, even Talbot's extraordinary height didn't make him immune to the occasional comedic mishap. Ducking under door frames became a constant exercise, one he occasionally misjudged, resulting in a head-first collision. The commotion that ensued would cause his colleagues to erupt in laughter, their amusement echoing through the office space. Yet, Despite the occasional laughter and the challenges posed by his towering stature, Talbot remained undeterred. He recognized that his uniqueness brought both moments of hilarity and opportunities for genuine connection. In this futuristic city where the extraordinary was ordinary, Talbot's towering presence would be the foundation upon which he would build his own legend, one that would reach far beyond the confines of his office and the city's streets. As Talbot entered, he was met with the disapproving gaze of his boss, a man of unusually small stature who seemed to revel in exerting authority over others. The boss wasted no time berating him for his tardiness, his condescending words piercing through Talbot's already fragile self-esteem. The air around him grew heavy with shame, and he could only offer a feeble apology, unable to find the words to defend himself. His boss, seemingly satisfied with his power trip, proceeded to dock a portion of Talbot's pay as punishment for his lateness. The weight of the deduction added to the burden on Talbot's shoulders, deepening his sense of frustration and despair. The boss sauntered away, leaving Talbot to wallow in the consequences of his perceived failures. Feeling defeated and undervalued, Talbot trudged to his workstation, surrounded by indifferent co-workers who seemed blissfully unaware of his internal struggle. The monotony of the workday dragged on, each passing minute a painful reminder of his unfulfilled potential. His mind wandered, dreaming of a life beyond the confines of his current existence, where he could find purpose and recognition. Finally, the clock signaled the end of the workday, and Talbot couldn't have been more relieved. The weight of the day's events seemed to linger, burdening him with a constant reminder of his shortcomings. He longed for a reprieve, a temporary escape from the suffocating reality that consumed him. Talbot's journey home mirrored the exhaustion he felt in his soul. He slumped through the streets, his steps heavy and slow, desperately seeking solace. Entering his apartment once again, he sank onto the worn-out couch, his body aching from the strain of the day. The room enveloped him with its loneliness, amplifying the hollow emptiness within. As Talbot sat amidst the remnants of his self-imposed isolation, he couldn't help but wonder if there was more to life than this. Deep down, a flicker of hope remained, a yearning for a chance at redemption. Little did he know that this ordinary day would mark the beginning of an extraordinary journey, one that would test his physical and mental limits, transforming him into a force to be reckoned with. With a glimmer of determination in his eyes, Talbot vowed to change his destiny. The events of today would no longer define him. He would rise from the depths of his despair, ready to face the challenges ahead and forge his own path. The alarm for a new beginning had sounded, and Talbot was ready to answer its call, and its first call was to get a drink. Chapter 2. An Unexpected Encounter. Talbot, his head practically brushing against the futuristic sky as he stepped out of his apartment, was determined to escape the suffocating atmosphere that clung to him within those walls. Embracing the towering metropolis that stretched out before him, he hailed a sky cab, its sleek design a perfect match for the city's futuristic aesthetic. As the sky cab gracefully descended, its anti-gravity propulsion system humming softly, Talbot climbed into the spacious interior. The cab's automated voice greeted him, adjusting the seat to accommodate his extraordinary height. With a push of a button, he directed the cab to his favorite local bar, a place where he could momentarily forget his troubles and find solace in the company of others. As the cab ascended, Talbot marveled at the cityscape that unfolded beneath him. Neon lights bathed the streets in a vibrant glow, illuminating the bustling thoroughfares and the soaring skyscrapers that reached for the heavens. Hovering vehicles, their streamlined forms cutting through the air, added to the mesmerizing symphony of a technologically advanced city. The wind rushed through Talbot's hair as the cab glided effortlessly above the city, offering him a temporary respite from the weight of his troubles. From this vantage point, he could see the sprawling expanse of the metropolis stretching far beyond what the eye could comprehend. The sight of it all, coupled with the realization of his own towering presence, brought a sense of awe and amusement. As the cab descended towards his destination, Talbot's anticipation grew. The bar, a haven nestled amidst the neon-lit streets, welcomed him with its familiar warmth and camaraderie. The moment the cab touched down, he stepped out, his elongated strides commanding attention from passers-by. Some couldn't help but stop and stare, their faces a mix of curiosity and amusement, while others simply continued on with their own lives, seemingly unfazed by his extraordinary height. Entering the bar, Talbot ducked under the doorframe with practiced ease, drawing a chorus of chuckles from those who witnessed his entrance. The atmosphere inside was lively, filled with laughter, the clinking of glasses, and the low hum of conversations. Patrons turned their heads, their eyes widening in surprise as they caught sight of Talbot, a living testament to the city's diversity. Talbot entered the bar, his weariness apparent in his heavy footsteps and slumped shoulders. The dimly lit establishment offered a respite from the chaotic city outside, but the weight of his troubles lingered like a dark cloud above him. The bartender, a gruff and no-nonsense individual with a perpetual scowl etched on his face, spotted Talbot immediately and wasted no time in addressing him.
Hey you!
The bartender barked, his voice cutting through the murmurs of the bar.
You've got a tab to settle before I serve you another drink.
Talbot's frustration mounted, his exhaustion evident in his tired eyes and sagging expression. He tried to muster the courage to respond, hoping to find a moment of understanding from the bartender.
Come on, cut me some slack, will you? It's been a rough day.
Talbot pleaded, his voice tinged with a touch of desperation. He gestured towards his disheveled appearance and weary demeanor, silently pleading for empathy. The bar patrons, momentarily captivated by the brewing tension, paused their conversations to eavesdrop on the unfolding scene. The bartender, unyielding in his stance, leaned forward, his gaze fixed on Talbot with a mix of disdain and indifference. He retorted with a dismissive tone, his words dripping with sarcasm.
Sounds like a personal problem to me.
He scoffed.
No drinks until you pay what you owe.
Talbot sighed, the weight of disappointment settling upon him like a heavy burden. He had hoped that this familiar haven would offer him a reprieve from the hardships of the day, but even in this place, he couldn't catch a break. It seemed that the misfortunes that had plagued him all day had followed him, seeping into the sanctuary he had once cherished. Resigned to his fate, Talbot glanced around, considering his options. The bar patrons watched intently, their curiosity piqued by the brewing tension between the weary giant and the unyielding bartender. It was as if they were waiting for something unexpected to happen, an unlikely turn of events that would break the cycle of frustration and offer a glimmer of hope. But just as Talbot was about to turn away, a tall man approached from the other end of the bar. With an air of confidence and a twinkle of mischief in his eyes, he walked up to Talbot and rested a reassuring hand on his massive shoulder. The sudden intrusion caught the attention of everyone in the vicinity. The tall man's voice carried a hint of charisma as he addressed both Talbot and the bartender.
Now, let's not be so harsh, my friend.
He said, his tone laced with charm.
Can't you see this man has had a rough day? Surely we can find a way to settle his tab later.
The bartender's scowl deepened, his resistance momentarily wavering under the influence of the newcomer's persuasive aura. The patrons leaned in, their curiosity piqued by this unexpected turn of events. Talbot, his hope reignited by the stranger's intervention, watched with anticipation as the situation unfolded. After a brief moment of deliberation, the bartender grumbled, his tone begrudgingly acquiescing.
Fine,
He relented, his voice laced with reluctant compromise.
but make sure you settle your tab soon, big guy.
With a stern warning, he turned away, attending to other patrons with a renewed sense of gruffness. Relief washed over Talbot as he watched the bartender begrudgingly serve other customers, the tension in the bar gradually dissipating. He turned to the tall man, gratitude shimmering in his eyes.
Thank you.
Talbot said, his voice filled with genuine appreciation.
I really appreciate your help. It's been one of those days, you know?
The tall man smiled warmly, his presence exuding a sense of reassurance.
We've all had those days, my friend.
He replied, his voice carrying a hint of understanding.
Talbot, I knew your father. We were friends. He was one of the most famous Titan gladiators, a legend in his time.
I don't know him.
Talbot replied, his voice tinged with a mix of sorrow and frustration.
He died when I was just a child, and I have no desire to be a fighter, especially with my bad knee.
The man, unfazed by Talbot's response, leaned in closer, his eyes filled with a glimmer of possibility.
The rules of the gladiator matches may require perfect condition, but the underground fights are a bit more flexible. There are ways to grease the wheels, if you catch my drift.
Talbot's mind whirled with conflicting thoughts as he considered the man's proposition. On one hand, he had his job in security, a sense of stability amidst the chaos. On the other, the allure of something more, a chance to step out of his father's shadow and carve his own destiny. Reluctantly, Talbot declined the offer, his voice tinged with a sense of resignation.
I appreciate the offer, but I think I'll stick with what I have. Security work pays the bills.
The man, undeterred, reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card, extending it towards Talbot.
Take this. Call me if you ever change your mind. I can train you, help you become the fighter you were meant to be.
Talbot hesitated for a moment, his hand hovering in the air before he finally accepted the card, slipping it into his pocket. As the tall man walked away, leaving Talbot with the weight of an unmade decision, he couldn't help but wonder if there was more to life than his monotonous routine. The business card burned a hole in his pocket, a silent reminder of the possibilities that lay before him. Talbot left the bar, his mind consumed with thoughts of his father's legacy and the untapped potential within himself. The journey towards self-discovery had just begun, and he had a feeling that it would lead him to places he never could have imagined. Chapter 3. A change for the better. Talbot woke up the next day, groaning as the throbbing pain in his head reminded him of the hangover he had acquired the previous night. His bleary eyes squinted at the blaring sound of his alarm clock, signaling that once again he was late for work. In a panic, he stumbled out of bed and hastily threw on his clothes, struggling to find matching socks in the mess of his disheveled apartment. With one sock in hand and the other halfway on his foot, Talbot embarked on what could only be described as a comedic race through the bustling city streets. His oversized strides caused him to bump into startled pedestrians who stared in disbelief at the towering figure rushing past them in a frenzied blur. Talbot, his flailing arms and legs a spectacle of chaos, inadvertently became the center of attention as the city dwellers turned their heads to catch a glimpse of the extraordinary sight. Finally arriving at his workplace, Talbot burst through the entrance, his disheveled appearance drawing immediate attention. His little boss, a man of minuscule stature but an outsized ego, spotted him instantly and wasted no time in berating him with a shrill voice that seemed to defy his physical stature.
You're late again, Talbot.
His boss screeched, his tiny face turning an alarming shade of red.
I've had enough of your excuses. Consider yourself fired.
The announcement echoed through the office, leaving Talbot dumbfounded and shirtless, as if the world had conspired against him to strip away his dignity. Caught off guard by his boss's sudden decision, Talbot hastily covered his exposed torso with his hands, feeling a surge of embarrassment wash over him. He stumbled backward, the weight of shame propelling him towards the exit. As he made his retreat, his co-workers gawked in stunned silence, their jaws hanging open at the absurdity of the situation. Running through the city streets, shirtless and with his belly jiggling, Talbot tried to shield himself from the curious gazes of passers-by. It felt as if everyone's eyes were trained on him, his misfortune a spectacle too absurd to resist. The comedic scene that unfolded had the potential to be straight out of a slapstick comedy film, with Talbot as the unwitting star. Finally reaching the refuge of his dirty apartment, Talbot collapsed onto the couch, his sweaty back sticking to the worn-out fabric. He sighed heavily, contemplating the direction his life had taken. It was then that he noticed a small slip of paper on the coffee table, obscured by crumbs from his hastily made sandwich. Picking it up, he read the words printed on the card.
Gene Calamity, owner of Titan's Gym.
Talbot's eyes widened in surprise, a mix of curiosity and hope bubbling within him. The name alone was enough to evoke a sense of impending chaos, as if fate itself had a sense of humor. He chuckled to himself, thinking that perhaps a gym owned by someone with the name Calamity was just the kind of comedic twist he needed in his life. Without giving it a second thought, Talbot reached for his media console and entered the access code on the card. He couldn't help but wonder what adventures awaited him at Titan's Gym, and whether this unexpected turn of events would be the catalyst for a new chapter in his life, one filled with laughter, unexpected friendships, and the triumph of the underdog. No, not with his luck. Talbot received the contact details of his father's old friend, Gene Calamity, owner of Titan's Gym. Intrigued by the prospect of learning more about his father's gladiator legacy, Talbot reached out to Gene and set up a meeting at the secret training facility. Hidden away from prying eyes, Titan's Gym exuded an aura of mystery and anticipation. As Talbot approached the unmarked entrance, he could already sense the energy emanating from within. The sound of clashing weights and the primal grunts of determined fighters reverberated through the walls, creating a symphony of determination and raw power. Stepping through the entrance, Talbot found himself engulfed in a sensory whirlwind. The air was thick with the musky scent of sweat, intermingled with the metallic tang of iron. The clang of barbells meeting the ground and the thud of heavy punches against punching bags created a rhythm that pulsated with intensity. The walls of Titan's Gym were a tapestry of gladiator history. Adorning every inch were vibrant posters featuring legendary gladiators, their imposing figures frozen in epic battle poses. Talbot's eyes were drawn to one poster in particular, an image of his own father captured in a moment of triumph. His father's commanding presence seemed to leap off the wall, filling Talbot with a mix of pride, longing, and determination. As Talbot made his way deeper into the gym, he couldn't help but notice the eclectic mix of athletes training in various disciplines. From agile fighters practicing intricate martial arts forms to powerlifters testing their limits with Herculean weights, each athlete carried their own unique story and purpose. Talbot watched in awe as a group of acrobats soared through the air, executing gravity-defying flips and spins. Their fluid movements seemed to defy the laws of physics, drawing applause and laughter from the onlookers. The sight brought a smile to Talbot's face, a momentary respite from the weight of his own self-doubt. Nearby, a group of wrestlers engaged in a playful match, their grappling techniques accompanied by bursts of laughter and exaggerated theatrics. The display of athleticism blended seamlessly with the comedic timing, leaving the spectators in stitches. Talbot couldn't help but be drawn to their infectious energy, a reminder that amidst the intense training, joy and camaraderie could be found. As Talbot continued to explore, he stumbled upon a corner of the gym transformed into a makeshift stage. A group of fighters gathered, rehearsing a choreographed fight scene that blended martial arts with comedic antics. The exaggerated movements and comical mishaps had everyone in stitches, showcasing the performer's knack for physical comedy. Gene Calamity, the mastermind behind the gym, approached Talbot, a mischievous twinkle in his eye.
Ah, Talbot, my friend. You've stepped into the heart of our comedic battleground.
Gene said with a grin.
Here at Titan's Gym, we believe in infusing laughter and joy into the pursuit of strength and skill. Comedy and combat go hand in hand.
Talbot couldn't help but be captivated by the unique atmosphere that surrounded him. Titan's Gym was not just a place for physical training, but a stage where athleticism and comedy intertwined. It was a sanctuary where fighters embraced their inner performers, finding the balance between intense discipline and lightheartedness. Chapter 4. How to Get Those Muscles. As Talbot absorbed the sights and sounds of the gym, he felt a renewed sense of purpose and belonging. Inspired by the legacy of his father and the camaraderie he witnessed, he knew that his journey would be more than just a quest for physical prowess. It would be an opportunity to embrace the comedic spirit within him, to forge connections through shared laughter, and to redefine what it meant to be a gladiator in this extraordinary world of giants. Under Gene's tutelage, a montage of intense and comedic training sessions unfolded over the course of 3 grueling months. The screen fills with a mix of action and laughter as Talbot dives into a rigorous training regimen, with a sprinkle of comedic mishaps adding a touch of levity to his journey. In one scene, Talbot attempts a series of complex acrobatic maneuvers, but his coordination seems to have other plans. He tumbles and fumbles, stumbling through the routine with exaggerated gestures that leave both him and Gene chuckling. With each fall, Talbot learns to laugh at himself, embracing the comedic side of his journey. The camera then shifts to Talbot's weightlifting session, where he grapples with an impossibly heavy barbell. As he strains and grunts, the weights refuse to budge. Talbot's face contorts into a comical expression of determination, evoking laughter from both Gene and the onlookers. Eventually, the weights come crashing down, causing a domino effect that sends gym-goers scrambling. Talbot sheepishly scratches his head, offering an apologetic shrug amidst the chaos. Endurance exercises provide yet another opportunity for comedy. Talbot hops onto a treadmill, his legs moving in an exaggerated fashion that's reminiscent of a cartoon character. He nearly loses his balance, comically flailing his arms before regaining control. The scene is punctuated with bursts of laughter from his fellow gym members, who find solace in the camaraderie of shared comedic moments. As the training montage progresses, Talbot's skills improve, and the focus shifts toward his growing proficiency. The comedic mishaps gradually taper off, replaced by impressive displays of strength, agility, and precision. Talbot's movements become more fluid and refined, showcasing his dedication and growth. The camera captures him, executing intricate combat simulations with grace, delivering precise strikes and expertly evading attacks. Each move is executed with confidence and finesse, demonstrating the transformation that has taken place. Talbot's determination has paid off, and the comedy becomes a fond memory of his early training days. As the training montage draws to a close, Talbot stands tall, his muscles glistening with sweat, and his gaze focused with unwavering determination. The laughter that once peppered his journey has paved the way for a newfound sense of purpose. The secret gym, once a place of comedic mishaps and friendships, has transformed into a sanctuary where dreams are forged through hard work and resilience. With Gene Calamity by his side, their shared laughter serving as a reminder of the bond they've formed, Talbot is ready to face the challenges that await him in the gladiator arena. The comedic moments have served their purpose, instilling a sense of joy and lightness amidst the intense training. As Talbot steps forward, armed with his improved skills and a burning desire to prove himself, the comedy takes a back seat, replaced by a determination that will propel him toward his destiny. Chapter 5. Oh shit! Is that what we are doing? The following day, Gene Calamity took Talbot to his first underground gladiator fight, eager to introduce him to the adrenaline-fueled spectacle that awaited them. As they stepped into the dimly lit arena, the atmosphere crackled with anticipation. The air was heavy with the scent of sweat and the deafening roar of the crowd. The spectators, fueled by excitement and the prospect of winning bets, clutched their fists tightly, money exchanged among them, as wagers were placed on the fierce warriors about to enter the muddy pit arena below. Talbot and Jean found their way to a row of empty benches, settling down beside a nice-looking gentleman whose refined appearance contrasted with the gritty surroundings. Talbot noticed the gentleman's air of elegance and the glimmer of determination in his eyes. Intrigued, he struck up a conversation. The gentleman introduced himself as Sean Victus, a man with an unexpected reason for being there.
I'm here to witness the fights.
Sean explained, his voice tinged with a mix of excitement and resolve.
You see, I will soon be participating in them myself. I acquired a significant debt in order to purchase a wedding ring, and these fights offer me a chance to pay it off.
Talbot's eyes widened in surprise. He could sense the weight of Sean's ambition, the depth of his commitment to a cause. In that moment, a bond formed between them, as both were captivated by the brutal intensity unfolding before their eyes. As the fights began, Talbot and Sean found themselves drawn into a whirlwind of brutal combat. They watched with wide eyes and clenched fists as the combatants unleashed their raw ferocity upon each other. The impact of bone against bone echoed through the arena, sending shivers down their spines. With each bone-crunching strike, a chorus of winces and gasps escaped from the spectators. The arena became a battleground of relentless determination, where warriors pushed their bodies to the limit, fueled by adrenaline and the desire for victory. The air grew heavy with the scent of sweat and blood, mingling with the thunderous cheers of the crowd. Every drop of perspiration that fell from the fighters' brows seemed to symbolize their unyielding spirit and unwavering resolve. As fists collided, a symphony of pain resonated throughout the arena. Skins split open, revealing crimson trails that marred the combatants' bodies. Gasps turned into sharp intakes of breath as the spectacle unfolded before Talbot and Sean, captivating them in a gruesome dance of violence and endurance. The combatants fought tooth and nail, their faces etched with determination, glistening with sweat and streaked with blood. The relentless nature of the battles tested the limits of the fighters' strength and will, pushing them to their physical and mental breaking points. Amidst the chaos, moments of respite were few and far between. Each second counted, every calculated move potentially shifting the tide of the fight. The combatants maneuvered with precision, their skills honed through countless hours of training, their bodies a testament to their dedication and sacrifice. As the fights reached their peak, Talbot and Sean were swept up in a crescendo of emotions. They marveled at the tenacity of the combatants, their unwavering drive to overcome pain and emerge victorious. The arena became a battlefield of dreams, where the price of glory was measured in blood and sweat. In the face of overwhelming odds, some fighters displayed a resilience that bordered on the supernatural. They refused to yield, their bodies battered and bruised, their spirits unbroken. The audience, including Talbot and Sean, could not help but be in awe of their courage and determination. And then, as the final battles raged on, the arena was transformed into a stage of triumph and defeat. Amidst the deafening roars of the crowd, the victors stood tall, their bodies marked with the scars of their hard-fought victories. The gory spectacle reached its climax, leaving Talbot and Sean breathless and filled with a newfound respect for the warriors who had tested their limits within those blood-stained walls. As they left the arena, their minds reeling from the intense battles they had witnessed, Talbot and Sean exchanged glances of understanding. The fights had left an indelible mark on their souls, forging a bond that would carry them through the trials that awaited them. They had glimpsed the true nature of the gladiator world, a realm where the line between victory and defeat was etched in the blood of the fallen. Their shared experience left Talbot and Sean shaken, the brutality of the combat leaving an indelible mark on their psyches. They emerged from the arena traumatized, their thoughts consumed by the relentless violence they had witnessed. Outside, they exchanged contact information, recognizing in each other a connection born from shared trauma and a desire for camaraderie. Sean promised to update Talbot on the outcome of his proposal, their exchange a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness that had enveloped them. It was a shared understanding that, in the face of the brutality they had witnessed, they would find solace and support in one another. Little did they know that their paths would intertwine further, their friendship evolving in unexpected ways. The underground fights had left an indelible impression on both Talbot and Sean, solidifying their determination to rise above the violence and forge their own destinies. The exchange of contact information marked the beginning of a bond that would shape their futures, propelling them toward uncharted territories and unforeseen challenges in the relentless pursuit of their goals. Chapter 6. Kung Hu. Under Jean's expert guidance, Talbot embarked on a rigorous training regimen that encompassed various forms of martial arts. The montage captures the essence of his arduous journey, blending intense workouts, sparring sessions, and grueling physical conditioning. In one scene, Talbot finds himself engaged in a lively sparring match with a holographic opponent, its translucent form dancing gracefully across the training arena. The flickering lights and whirring sounds add a touch of futuristic spectacle to the training montage, eliciting a few comical moments as Talbot tries to keep up with the elusive projections. Another sequence shows Talbot grappling with robotic fighters, their metallic limbs delivering lightning-fast strikes. As he dodges and counterattacks, the metallic clangs and beeps echo through the training facility, creating a symphony of futuristic combat. Despite his exceptional progress and newfound physical prowess, Talbot's bad knee remains a nagging reminder of his limitations. Occasionally, a comedic twist unfolds when he tries to execute a move, only to stumble or wince in pain. The mishaps prompt some light-hearted banter between Talbot and Jean as they exchange witty remarks to alleviate the seriousness of the training sessions. As the montage progresses, Talbot's determination shines through. He pushes past the physical discomfort, pouring his heart and soul into each training session. With every punch thrown and every kick landed, his movements become more fluid, his techniques more refined. The comedic moments gradually give way to a sense of focused determination as Talbot grows stronger and more skilled. The training montage concludes with Talbot standing in the center of the training arena, his muscles glistening with sweat, a testament to the transformation he has undergone. His bad knee, though still a reminder of his vulnerability, no longer hampers his progress. Talbot exudes confidence and control, his dedication and unwavering spirit evident in every calculated move. As Talbot catches his breath, he exchanges a knowing glance with Jean, their unspoken bond reflecting the countless hours of sweat and toil they have endured together. The training montage symbolizes not only Talbot's physical transformation, but also his evolution as a fighter, a warrior primed for the battles that lie ahead. With his training complete, Talbot emerges as a force to be reckoned with. The future technology integrated into his training has honed his skills, giving him an edge in the ring. The comedic moments that peppered his journey now serve as fond memories, a testament to the growth he has achieved. As Talbot steps out of the training arena, he is filled with a sense of purpose and determination. The future awaits him, and he is ready to embrace the challenges that lie ahead. The once comedic journey has paved the way for his rise as a formidable gladiator, and the world will soon bear witness to the culmination of his training and the fusion of his Titan and human attributes. Chapter 7. Warriors come out and play. The day of the highly anticipated fight arrived, and Talbot, accompanied by his father's friend Jean, made their way to the evaluation room. Aware of the obstacles Talbot faced due to his bad knee, Jean discreetly slipped some money to the doctor, ensuring Talbot's approval to enter the arena. The doctor nodded, accepting the bribe, and gave Talbot the green light to fight. With a mix of excitement and nerves, Talbot took his place in the gladiator pen, the air charged with anticipation. As he awaited his turn, he heard the familiar voice over the speaker system announcing Sean Victus's name for the upcoming fight. Peering through the window, Talbot's heart pounded in his chest as he watched the intense battle unfold. Sean Victus faced a fierce opponent, their clash reverberating throughout the underground arena. The sound of steel meeting flesh filled the air as they traded savage blows, leaving trails of blood in their wake. The brutality of the fight was on full display, the combatants driven by an unyielding determination to claim victory. With every strike, the crowd erupted in a mix of awe and shock. The combatants pushed themselves to their limits, their bodies battered and bruised, yet their resolve unwavering. The arena became a battlefield of blood and shattered bones, a testament to the ferocity and raw power of the gladiators. In a gut-wrenching climax, Sean Victus emerged as the victor, but the battle had taken its toll. Bloodied and battered, he rejoined Talbot in the gladiator pen, his face a mask of pain and triumph.
She said yes.
He managed to say through gritted teeth, his voice laced with both exhaustion and a sense of accomplishment.
Now I just need to survive long enough to pay off my debts and marry my beautiful bride-to-be.
The montage transitions to Talbot and Sean Victus facing off against other formidable opponents, their skills honed through relentless training and unwavering determination. Each fight showcased a ballet of brutality, a symphony of bone-crushing impacts and spurts of crimson. The combatants pushed their bodies to the limit, fueled by adrenaline and the desire to emerge victorious. As they advanced through the ranks, the arena became a canvas painted with gore and violence. The intensity escalated with each battle, the crowd reveling in the raw display of strength and resilience. Blood splattered across the floor, the scent of iron filling the air as the gladiators fought for survival and glory. As Sean Victus reached the final stage, where the ultimate challenge awaited him, the atmosphere grew heavy with anticipation. The final boss was a legendary figure, known for their mercilessness and savage skills. Talbot and the crowd could sense the impending clash of titans, the culmination of an arduous journey. The montage captures the gruesome reality of the fights, the fighters stained with sweat and blood, their bodies a testament to their unwavering determination. The gore and brutality serve as a reminder of the sacrifices made in the name of victory, a stark contrast to the glamour of the tower above. Amidst the chaos, Talbot's admiration for Sean Victus grew. They had witnessed each other's triumphs and endured the horrors of the arena side by side. Their bond, forged in the crucible of bloodshed, became unbreakable, and their shared goal of love and redemption propelled them forward. As Sean Victus stepped into the final battle, the crowd held their breath, their hearts pounding in anticipation. The gladiators clashed with a ferocity unmatched, their every move filled with primal instinct and calculated precision. The outcome hung in the balance, a test of skill, will, and sheer survival. The fights had transformed Talbot and Sean Victus, molding them into formidable warriors. The gore and brutality they had witnessed and endured had shaped them, honing their skills and strengthening their resolve. With each victory, they drew closer to their ultimate goal, driven by a fire that burned brighter than ever before. Chapter 8. It's showtime. Talbot stepped into the arena, the atmosphere thick with anticipation and the echoes of raucous cheers from the crowd. Sweat glistened on his brow as he prepared to face his formidable opponent. The arena was transformed into a battleground, a swirling vortex of adrenaline and violence. His opponent, a hulking figure, towered over Talbot with an air of savage confidence. The bell rang, signaling the start of the match, and the two combatants lunged at each other with explosive force. Fists and feet collided, each strike filled with the intent to maim and overpower. Talbot fought with a fierce determination, unleashing a flurry of punches and kicks. He dodged and weaved, employing the skills he had honed through grueling training sessions. The crowd gasped and cheered as Talbot delivered a powerful blow that seemed to spell victory. But in a sudden twist of fate, his opponent retaliated with an unexpected strike. The force of the blow caught Talbot off guard, sending him crashing to the ground. The impact reverberated through his body, momentarily stunning him. As Talbot lay on the ground, the world spun around him. The audience's cheers became distant echoes as he fought to regain his senses. Despite the pain coursing through his body, he mustered every ounce of willpower and determination, slowly rising to his feet. Bloodied and bruised, Talbot locked eyes with his opponent. A fierce fire burned within him, fueled by the taste of defeat and a thirst for redemption. He refused to be defeated, channeling his inner strength and summoning the resolve to continue the fight. With a renewed sense of purpose, Talbot launched himself back into the battle. He exchanged blow after blow with his opponent, their movements a blur of violence and raw power. Each strike echoed with bone-crunching impact, reverberating through the arena. Time seemed to warp as the fight raged on. Talbot's body ached, his muscles screamed for respite, but he pressed on. He fought with the heart of a warrior, refusing to yield to the pain and exhaustion that threatened to consume him. In a final burst of energy, Talbot unleashed a devastating strike that connected with his opponent's jaw. The resounding crack echoed through the arena, and the crowd erupted in a mix of astonishment and exhilaration. It was a winning blow, a testament to Talbot's unyielding spirit. But as the crowd roared with excitement, Talbot's battered body finally succumbed to the relentless punishment it had endured. He crumpled to the ground, consciousness slipping away as his vision blurred into darkness. Chapter 9. A familiar face. Talbot's consciousness slowly emerged from the haze, his senses gradually returning to him. The sterile white walls of the recovery room came into focus, and the throbbing pain in his body intensified. His father's friend, Jean, stood over him, his face etched with a grim expression. Talbot's voice trembled as he asked,
"What's wrong, Jean? Why do you look so grave?"
Jean's eyes bore into Talbot's, filled with a mix of sorrow and resignation.
I'm sorry, Talbot.
He whispered.
Sean, your dear friend. He fought valiantly, but he fell victim to the unforgiving nature of the arena. He lost his final fight.
Shock and disbelief coursed through Talbot's veins. The news struck him like a thunderbolt, the weight of the loss crushing his heart. As the finality of the moment settled upon him, an announcement boomed through the recovery room, shaking him from his thoughts.
Attention, Talbot. It is time for your final battle, the fight against the ultimate adversary, Celica.
Talbot's eyes widened with a mix of horror and determination. In a frenzy, he leaped from the recovery bed, his body still aching from the previous fight. He darted out of the room, desperately searching for Sean. Panic gripped his heart as he realized his friend was nowhere to be found. With heavy footsteps, Talbot made his way to the entrance of the arena, the electric atmosphere vibrating in the air. The crowd was a roaring sea of anticipation, their frenzied excitement tangible. Talbot pushed forward, his gaze fixed on the ring where the final boss awaited. But as he focused his eyes on his last opponent, the sight before him turned his blood to ice. A shudder ran down his spine, and his heart sank in disbelief. The face of the final boss, Celica, mirrored that of his fallen friend, Sean. It was a grotesque and nightmarish visage, as if the cruelty of the arena had taken on his friend's appearance. Blood dripped from under the flesh mask Celica wore. Celica howled in victory, seeing what his cruelty had done to Talbot. Fury ignited within Talbot, flames of rage consuming his every thought. With a guttural roar, he summoned every ounce of strength and charged forward. The fight bell rang, and both combatants lunged at each other with primal aggression, tearing at each other like savage beasts. The battle that ensued was a horrifying display of brutality. Talbot's opponent matched him blow for blow, their bodies battered and bloodied as they fought relentlessly. Weapons clashed, environmental traps were triggered, and the arena became a macabre stage for their gruesome dance of death. In the midst of the chaos, Talbot suffered a grievous wound. Celica's strike sliced through his abdomen, and his intestines spilled onto the arena floor. Pain seared through his body, his vision blurred as his life flashed before his eyes. Amidst the haze, a memory resurfaced, the image of Sean holding his engagement ring, the promise of a future filled with love and happiness. Anguish and rage surged within Talbot, fueling an unimaginable strength. He mustered every ounce of willpower, gripping his own intestines and using them as a weapon to choke Celica, his enemy. The final moments of the battle were a grim and desperate struggle. Talbot's adversary thrashed and fought for his life, but Talbot's rage burned brighter. With one last surge of ferocity, Celica fell limp at his feet, defeated. Exhausted and on the brink of collapse, Talbot rose victoriously, his innards still exposed from his stomach wound. He surveyed the arena, his gaze filled with a mix of triumph and horror. It was a sight both grotesque and awe-inspiring. As Talbot teetered on the edge of consciousness, Jean rushed towards him, concern etched on his face. The world blurred, and darkness closed in around him. Talbot succumbed to the void, unaware of the flurry of activity that unfolded around him. When he finally regained consciousness, Talbot found himself once again in the recovery room. The pain that had consumed him was replaced by an uncanny sensation of wholeness. His body had been fully repaired, regenerated by the advanced technology of the biopod. Talbot's gaze hardened, his eyes filled with determination. The loss of his friend and the burning drive to ascend the tower fueled a new resolve within him. His journey had just begun, and with a perfect body for fighting, he would stop at nothing to conquer the challenges that awaited him. As the scene faded to darkness, Talbot's indomitable spirit burned bright, a beacon of hope in a world steeped in darkness and violence. His odyssey to the top of the tower had only just commenced, and he was ready to face whatever lay ahead.